If you type 528 Hz into any search bar right now, you are almost immediately going to be told that this specific sound frequency can actually literally repair your DNA. Or, type in 432 Hz, and you'll hear that it's the frequency of the universe itself, supposedly tuned to heal your body and raise your vibration. And we're not talking about a fringe internet corner here. Millions of people are tuning into these audio tracks every single night, looking for cellular healing and deep relaxation. But it really begs a massive question, doesn't it? Is any of this actually real? Welcome to This Explainer. I am so genuinely glad you're here with us today. Our mission is pretty straightforward. We are going to look right past all the internet hype and ask what actual peer-reviewed clinical research has to say about these specific tones. We're going to dig in and separate that small, fascinating kernel of real science from the absolute mountain of internet myth. And we're going to do all of that without dismissing the very real, deeply relaxing lived experience you might have when you listen to these tracks. Okay, let's dive right into this. So here's our quick roadmap for today. 1. The healing frequency hype. 2. What are these numbers? 3. What the science says. 4. The real healing mechanism. And 5. Honest listening guidelines. Starting off with Section 1, the healing frequency hype. The promises made by the creators of these audio tracks are frankly nothing short of miraculous. The frequency of the universe tuned to heal your body. I mean, wow. People aren't just putting these tracks on to have some nice background music while they read a book. They are actively seeking profound medical benefits. They're looking for disease reversal, total stress eradication, and actual cellular repair. And it is absolutely vital that we acknowledge how deeply people care about this stuff, which perfectly sets up our central question. Does peer-reviewed science actually back up these incredibly high stakes? Moving to Section 2. What are these numbers? Let's just quickly bring this down to earth and define our terms. A frequency, which is measured in hertz, or Hz for short, is really simply a measurement of how many times a sound wave vibrates per second. That's the whole shebang. It isn't magic, it is just a basic physical property of sound. Higher numbers vibrate faster and sound higher in pitch. Lower numbers vibrate slower and sound lower in pitch. So whenever we're talking about a specific frequency, we are essentially just talking about a specific musical pitch. And this actually brilliantly illustrates what all the fuss is about with 432 Hz. See, most modern music, pretty much everything you're going to hear on the radio or Spotify, tunes the note A above middle C to exactly 440 Hz. Advocates of 432 Hz simply retune the exact same note just slightly lower to 432. So the crucial takeaway here is that this is merely a difference of 8 Hertz. In musical terms, that's a downward shift of roughly a third of a semitone. It is absolutely a physically real difference, but it's tiny. Honestly, it's barely perceptible to the average listener unless you are really deeply concentrating. Now, let's look at 528 Hz, because this is a totally different ballgame. 528 doesn't come from a slight retuning of standard music. Instead, it comes from a specific set of tones known as the solfeggio frequencies. Sometime in the late 20th century, this exact pitch got branded as the miracle tone or the love frequency. And somewhere along the line, it picked up this massive claim that playing this exact pitch can genuinely repair human DNA. So what we really have here are two very different concepts all bundled together online. 432 is just a tiny 8 Hz retuning of standard music, while 528 is tied to these huge, unproven claims of cellular repair. Because of that, they require completely different levels of scientific scrutiny. Which brings us to Section 3, what the science says. Believe it or not, there actually is peer-reviewed research out there on this stuff. It's just a whole lot more modest than the internet hype would have you believe. First up, a 2019 double-blind study by Kalamasi found that music tuned to 432 Hz was associated with a modestly lower heart rate compared to 440 Hz. Next, a 2020 randomized clinical trial by Arvena looked at patients undergoing dental extractions, obviously a super stressful situation. They found that 432 Hz music actually led to significantly lower levels of salivary cortisol, which is your body's main stress hormone, compared to standard tuning or just silence. And as for 528 Hz, a 2018 study by Akimoto reported lower cortisol, reduced tension, and higher oxytocin after just 5 minutes of listening. So yes, there are real measurable physical effects happening here. But before we go entirely off the deep end and declare these as miracle frequencies, we really have to talk about the number 9. That 2018 Akimoto study, which is the single most cited human study used to promote 528 Hz all over the internet, only had a sample size of 9 healthy adults. 9 people? In the world of clinical science, you simply cannot build a definitive medical claim on a sample size of 9. All of these supportive studies are very, very small, and the authors themselves clearly state that these are just preliminary findings that desperately need much larger trials. And that leads us to a pretty vital reality check. While small studies definitely show slight drops in heart rate or stress hormones, there is absolutely no credible peer-reviewed evidence that supports those extraordinary claims of DNA repair, the restructuring of water, or the healing of diseased cells. Those massive, life-changing claims do not come from replicated science. They stem from fringe sources that have essentially dressed up pure speculation to look like clinical fact. We just have to be honest with ourselves about where the actual data stops. All right, section 4, the real healing mechanism. 9,600. I want you to contrast that number with the tiny 9-person study we were just talking about. Back in 2020, researchers conducted a massive systematic review and meta-analysis of 104 randomized controlled trials. This encompassed roughly 9,600 participants. And what were they studying? They were studying the general effect of music on human stress. And this is what we call the general music effect. This massive body of robust, incredibly well-evidenced literature proves that calming music, just music itself, guys, directly engages your autonomic nervous system. It reliably slows your heart rate, it slows your breathing, it reduces your cortisol levels, and it positively shifts your entire mood. Literally, this is one of the most well-established findings in all of sound science. So, the most reasonable interpretation of all those small frequency studies we looked at earlier is not that the universe has some magic tuning number. It's that calming music played to relaxed people who expect to be soothed does exactly what calming music is scientifically proven to do. The heavy lifting is being done by the music itself, not the tiny 8 Hz pitch shift. And I want to be super clear here. This is not a disappointment. Honestly, this is incredibly empowering. It means the soothing benefits and the deep relaxation you feel are completely real and grounded in solid, undeniable science. You aren't imagining it. It's just the wonderful, natural power of music doing its thing. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Honest Listening Guidelines. Here are 4 really simple, freeing rules of thumb to guide you moving forward. First, if you enjoy 432 or 528 Hz tracks and they help you relax, please keep listening. Having a calming ritual is absolutely incredibly valuable for your stress levels and your sleep hygiene. Second, always keep the volume moderate to protect your long-term hearing. Third, and this is absolutely crucial, never let a frequency track replace actual medical treatment for a real medical condition. And fourth, just be highly skeptical of any product or video out there promising miracle cures, DNA repair, or disease reversal. Enjoy the tracks for the genuine relaxation they provide, for sure, but keep your wallet firmly closed to pseudoscientific health claims. So, to summarize our explainer today, yes, a handful of small studies do suggest that music tuned to these specific frequencies might modestly lower your heart rate and your cortisol. But the real powerhouse at work here is simply the proven, stress-reducing power of music itself, not some mystical number that can physically restructure your cells. The honest middle ground is definitely the best place to be here. Give credit to the music, enjoy the calm, and stay skeptical of the miracles. So I want to leave you with this final thought and question. Do you actively listen to 432 or 528 Hz tracks? And regardless of the math behind them, how do they actually make you feel? I really hope this structured look at the science has given you a clearer, more grounded understanding of the topic. Keep learning, keep exploring, and as always, stay curious.